It's been nearly 5 months since the LA fires. Even now, many families have unanswered questions about who or what is ultimately responsible. It's a heartbreaking wait for answers, not just for people who've lost their homes, but also for family members. Tara Tarragona went to the Eaton Fire area to speak to a family who's now taking legal action.
It's the first time 85-year-old Miss Evelyn Catherell has arrived to this empty lot where her beloved home used to stand. But somehow, every thread of sadness is woven with hope and a sense of humor even stronger than her resilience.
I'm glad that they're cleaning it up. There's memories. As old as I am, you kind of forget those too.
Some of them she wants to forget, like the night the Eaton fire burned through Altadena. She remembers her son Zaire came running to her rescue.
I remember that my life was saved because everything was boiling. It was like the doom of the planet. It was horrible.
Zaire, a football coach who lived in this house just next door, says he barely got his mom out in time. He says they never received any evacuation warning or order.
The crosswinds started shooting embers the size of golf balls, softballs, almost basketballs off of the mountain at 100 miles per hour.
It gave them very little time to escape with the shirts on their backs. Zaire says he didn't know his older sister, Evelyn, was still in the back of the house, and she never did make it out alive.
This is the only memory left of her. Is her car.
He says they filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Southern California Edison. His lawsuit is one of several SoCal Edison has been hit with related to the Eaton fire that killed 17 people and destroyed more than 9,000 structures. Southern California Edison spokesperson Diane Castro sent this statement in response to Zaire's suit, stating, quote, "The wildfires in Southern California have been heartbreaking. We are reviewing the recent lawsuit and will address through the appropriate legal process. We're committed to a thorough and transparent investigation of the Eaton fire and continue to closely coordinate with fire investigators and plaintiffs to understand the potential causes of ignition. We expect the investigation to take 12 to 18 months. In the meantime, Zaire says he's heartbroken that his daughter won't grow up in this home. And he says he's frustrated that there's not enough resources.
There's not enough housing to even put people in places, not adequate, and it's overpriced. So it's a long journey.
But he says he's pushing past the anger and the pain to carry the weight so his mom can live her final years in peace.
I do trust my son. When he said, do this, do that, I try to do that. Except when it comes to desserts.
We fight about dessert.
A good sign of that hope, he says, that even when it all falls down, you can cry, yell, and even laugh as you get back up.
Thank you, Tara Tarragona. Amongst the many stories we will continue to cover when it comes to rebuilding, both from the Palisades and the Eaton fires. And you're looking right there at publicly available information, by the way. You can go to this dashboard online and get a sense of how many building permits have been issued and how many plans are in process, how many rebuild applications have been received. You see the numbers right there. But just to tell you, LA County, this is unincorporated area of Eaton fire and the unincorporated area of the Palisades fire. So this is not technically city area, but 14 building permits issued so far from a city standpoint, from a county standpoint. When we've talked to Mayor Karen Bass, we've heard different numbers. But of course, you get a sense then of just how slow some people say the process has been. Lots of conversation around cutting red tape, and that conversation will go on. And of course, there's an insurance aspect to this as well. This wildfire has had a huge impact on insurance rates in California. Some companies are now looking to charge homeowners across the state to try and offset the billions of dollars in claims through fees, one-time fees, insurance premium hikes. State Farm actually recently won an emergency approval for a 17% rate increase and is looking to raise hikes again. Let's bring in an expert in the space to explain all this. It's insurance agent and industry expert Karl Susman. Karl, thanks so much for being with us. Just set this straight for people at home. The State Farm, we're talking about the 17%, but it's also this 30% number floating around. So explain what's happening here with State Farm.
Sure. Well, State Farm had asked for a 30% rate increase, and that really was before the fires actually happened. It was something they were looking for because of their general financial solvency issues. Then the fires happened, and they went to the Department of Insurance and said, we need an emergency rate increase right now. The department had a hearing. and a judge said, okay, we're not going to give you 30%, we're going to give you 17, and then you can have the entire full hearing in October. So October will come. State Farm is going to try and make a case that they need the additional 13% to get them up to that 30% that they were looking for.
And now let's talk about the reason for the 30% that they're looking for. I mean, there's obviously all kinds of natural disasters and issues in California. The fires come along as well. And we can also talk about the impact of the tariffs overall. But when people at home are hearing 30%, they say, it sounds like a big number. How much am I paying for the LA fires? How much am I paying for the tariffs? How much are other insurers going to do the same thing?
Well, we're all going to be paying a lot more for insurance because everything is costing more money. The tariffs is just the latest. We're looking at labor shortages and part shortages, and now we're looking at tariffs on trying to get parts in to do this rebuilding. We have potential deportations happening where there's a lot of our labor force going. That's going to potentially increase labor costs as well. I think what we're going to be seeing is what you would expect is you're going to see a major crunch with regard to having the resources to rebuild. And like you were saying earlier, people are so eager. They want to rebuild. They want to get back home. And as fast as we possibly can, we will. But it is not going to be a fast process. And I think even as quickly as the insurance carriers are writing checks, and I see millions and millions of dollars in EFT payments going just to our clients every day or two, it's just not going to be enough to get people back home as quick as they want to be.
Yeah, and we think about now just a check-in on what's happening with insurance payouts and the way the insurance industry and some of these companies and providers are posturing and positioning themselves coming on the back of fires. We're hearing a lot of people saying they're not getting these insurance payouts for smoke damage. There's also this conversation about the surcharges that are coming down the pike to try and offset some of the costs. What do you feel is the real-time response to these fires from these insurance companies? What kind of legacy will it leave moving forward?
Well, I think that we're always going to hear about the problems, all right? It's rare that I'll get a phone call from someone that says, wow, they're really taking care of my claim. No, they're going to call when there's a problem. So I think that we're hearing problems because those are the people that are making the most noise. In general, and I'm glad to be able to say this because I really didn't know when this was happening how it was going to play out. The majority of carriers really have been stepping up. They really have been doing what they promised to do, which is pay these claims and pay them based on the contracts of these policies they sold. Smoke damage is a problem. And fortunately, because there is no standard that has been set for what is smoke damage, is it permanent? Is it something that can be cleaned? What about poisonous things that are left in the house? Is that covered? Is that not? The Department of Insurance has recently started a task force specifically to target the issue of smoke damage. What we're expecting to happen, and hopefully sooner than later, is some guidelines will come out that make it clearer so it's more of an objective decision and not one that's being checked on a case-by-case basis at the whim of the adjusters that are going out and looking.
Yeah, I mean, this is so interesting because it's all happening against this context of people being underinsured. There's almost a crisis of that, right? Something like 10% of Californians don't have home insurance. And this is also against the context of people saying, you know, in some cases I haven't been able to get insurance and the FAIR plan exists for that. But coming out of the fires, maybe I'm not getting my payments for the FAIR plan, which for the folks at home, it's insurer of last resort. Just talk about the uninsurance, underinsurance issue and the FAIR plan, how we're seeing it pay out for the LA fires, but also just the complexion of that in California.
You have just such a great way of encapsulating my daily life. Yes, this is what we're dealing with, and this is the struggle that California consumers are having right now. And that 10% number that you're citing, I think, is extremely low because people that feel that they're insured adequately, what they're finding right now after disasters like this is they are not. What it costs to rebuild your home, if it's just your home, maybe 2 or 3 houses, maybe houses on your street, is one thing. But you take out an entire city, then the demand surge goes up where the replacement cost could be 3, 4, 5 times the amount that it would normally be. So everyone, to some extent, I think, is going to be getting policy maximums. And will that be enough to rebuild is really going to depend on the individual homes and what the actual costs are that come down when it comes time to rebuild.
Wow. All right. So just give us a distillation, if you can, in a moment about what this next year is going to look like for folks who are seeking insurance or in the insurance market. We'll start with the State Farm aspect. I mean, will they get themselves up to 30%? Will other